Not entirely sure what's going on this morning, y'all. Oh, whoa. Jesus. Oh. Holy, wait a minute. A little erratic this morning, guys. If you guys are just joining us, hey, what's going on? It is the most unbalanced show on the sports affiliation. It is the TSA Hoop Show. Good morning. It is your boy JR. Keep it a little light, keep it a little slow this morning. We are in full effect. If you are just joining us after weeks of pushing out information, advice, topics on the NBA season thus far, if you are just joining us because your team is on the banana boat now after another crazy football day. Thanks for tuning in. Welcome to the other side of the winter, which is the NBA season now. Congratulations, you are with us now. It is your boy JR here at the TSA Hoop Show, where we talk nothing but hoops. We do tie in a little bit of other sports as well, just to try to help us get forward what we're doing today. Just a little preview. Actually, tossing out some, doing a little Q&A. So if you guys have some questions out there, anything sports related, anything specifically towards the NBA, if you guys have some betting questions, you guys have some fantasy advice that you want to give or receive, just go ahead and throw it up in the chat if you're watching this from YouTube. You can also leave comments later on X. The handle's right there at 4F Apollo. And we will try to get to your questions throughout the show, during and afterwards. Hope you guys are enjoying your Sunday. And before we get too deep into it, do want to thank our sponsors, Drafters Fantasy app, where you can get your deposit matched up to $100 by using the code with your first deposit, TSA bets. So you can get your deposit matched up to $100. You can play your favorite fantasy hoops players, your bet on your favorite lineups for the day, get some cash in that bag, all the above. You know what I'm saying? And with that being said, today we took a hiatus last week, had some family in town, some stuff go down, so couldn't do the show last week. But this is the part of the season where we grind it out anyway. So as far as content is concerned, not a lot to really talk about, except there is a lot to talk about. So if you guys have been paying attention to what's been going on lately, women's professional hoops is live in full effect. That's right, unrivaled, y'all. If you've never heard of it before, that's because it is in its inaugural season. This is its inaugural weekend. The first game was played on Friday. These games are played 3 days a week. They will be played that many times for, I believe, 8 weeks is the amount of time. Featuring some of your favorite players like Skylar Diggins-Smith, um, the point guard from the Las Vegas Aces, Chelsea Gray, so on and so forth. So many big names in this league, where essentially what they're trying to do is get professional basketball played for women in the United States around the same time that the NBA is playing. And so far, so good. Great attendance being pushed out. If you guys have any further thoughts about it, if you guys want to look into that, we will be putting up some stuff on the handle on X, and that's where you'll see it. Luckily, we won't be putting together any TikToks because, of course, that's now banned. Wasn't putting those together anyway. So appreciate you guys for coming on to the show today. We're also going to be talking about our favorite bets. Again, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to leave comments below, or in the YouTube channel, where we will be answering your questions as best as we can here live on the show. Let's see what else we had this weekend in the past 2 weeks. Yeah, let's talk about Cleveland, OKC, Houston, Boston. That's it. I'll say it again. Cleveland, Boston, OKC, Houston. So all we should be talking about right now, as far as the NBA is concerned, 1 and 2, respectively, on both sides right now. And let's go ahead and just verify that by checking the standings because a lot has happened. OKC has played either the number 1 or number 2 seed team 4 times within the last 3 weeks. They've gone through the gauntlet, y'all. They survived, thrived, in fact. They split between the Cleveland and their games, the home and home. Okay. So OKC went into Cleveland, played a very, very close game. It was a high-paced game. Still no Chet Holmgren available, mind you, but the likes of Evan Mobley, again, that name's getting thrown out there a lot, and Darius Garland, both players gone off, did very well in that first game against OKC. Cleveland won in a very close game, very highly contested game. But in the second game, which happened last Thursday, y'all, OKC said, no, we're getting our get back. They got some dogs in them. Still without Chet Holmgren, and I believe also without our Isaiah Hartenstein. Let me just double check that because I was jumping in and out of that game and also check some of the highlights of that game. Absolutely crazy bonkers start to that game in the first quarter, and SGA himself was absolutely going off, but forget SGA. Lou Dort was lighting the 3-point shot of that game, man, and everybody from OKC was hitting. You can see the stark difference in between game 1 and game 2. Cleveland had a high turnover. They had about like 13 or 14 turnovers, and they're really not a high turnover team. They're like the third-rated team in the NBA as far as turnovers are concerned, or turnovers given up. So they really don't turn over the ball, and they had like 13 in that game. It was absolutely insane. The defense was there. It was high-powered, high intensity by OKC. They had a very, very great showing in that game, and that shows why they're the number 1 team in the West right now. Hit like a 6-game, a 6-game lead over the number 2 team, which is the Houston Rockets, which OKC also beat. And it's starting to show who's coming into form because, again, the winter months, January, towards the end of December, January, and February. It's like how the meat is made, how the sausage is made. So if you want to know why your team is in the position that they are right now, whether they're completely falling apart or they're absolutely healthy, starving for a particular player in the market for trades, or possibly tanking at this point, look at what their record is, what your favorite team's record is between just before Christmas and right before All-Star break. That stretch right there, it's either they didn't survive the gauntlet of the schedule that was put together, or they did. And OKC right now is thriving. They rested SGA yesterday in a game versus the other day versus the Dallas Mavericks, and of course lost that game. So if you bet on OKC to continue winning, I can understand why. For those of you that were trying to ride the wave, why you'd be a little bit upset about that loss there. But they rested SGA after, again, playing. I'm gonna put this out there, okay? 34-7. Gonna run this backwards from Dallas, okay? Give your boy a minute to update this because this is absolutely crazy. Thinking about it. Thinking about it. Thinking about it. You can do it. All right. Sorry. Computer issues right there. All right. Running this back. Okay. Loss against Dallas. Win against Cleveland. Play Philly. Play Washington. Of course, those are gimmies. Stomped New York. In New York. Lost against Cleveland. Beat Boston at home. New York again. Clippers came to town. Minnesota came to town. Memphis, this is December 29th, okay? December 29th, so we're getting closer to the holidays. All right? So they had Indiana, who they beat in Indiana, who since that time, Indiana decided to turn on the Jets and have gotten better. Play Charlotte, okay, we'll throw that out there. Memphis was number 2 at the time when they played on the 29th, 130 to 106. Then they played Minnesota, who we all had aspirations for as a team since they got rid of Cat and they tried to figure out what was going on with that team. Played Clippers, who have also since turned it on. That was January 2nd. New York, Boston, Cleveland, okay? That's number 3, 1, then 2, okay? 3, 1, then 2, and lost against Cleveland by 7. Very close game. Played New York again, Washington, Philly. Played Cleveland again. That was the 16th, y'all. Okay. This is supposed to be the meat grinder for OKC. You're supposed to be whittling this team down. They're not 100%. We know Chet Holmgren out with that hip injury. Isaiah Hartenstein was out for a little bit. I don't know. Might be too early to say championship aspirations. Definitely a playoff contender. Got some dogs in them. Got to watch out for them. They're very well coached. This team is still super young, highly talented, and they're only getting better. And when I talk about the improvement of the 3-point shot of Lou Dort, you guys want to see end over end improvement by a player for a guy that's supposed to be primarily a defensive player who they use on the perimeter to defend your best player. There's confidence in putting the ball in his hand. They started a little bit last year. It has improved, and his improvement alone. We're not talk about Jay Williams, who has improved, is a great shooter himself. We're not talking about the ability of Isaiah Joe to come off of the bench and absolutely torch teams for not closing out on them. We're not talking about these guys as 3-point shooters. We're talking specifically about Lou Dort. He's starting for the team. He's there in I believe, the small forward position. He has been an absolute grace to see improve live and in person. And I think the league has to continue to try and give us more of those games where the Cleveland versus OKC game was a nationally televised game. Very well, a very solid A+ job done by the league on being able to put that game together and give it to us in prime time, and show it and display it to the world. You got a player on the other side. You had Cleveland, right? Still the number 1 team in the NBA because they went out and just absolutely obliterated the league early on and had like 20 something straight wins, right? OKC being one of those teams. And you had Jarrett Allen, who has been one of the defensive stalwarts of Cleveland's team and one of the pieces that they helped build around when they acquired him, and I believe it was the trade from Brooklyn. Of course, responsible for some of those turnovers, but you could see it in his face where this team was not performing up to their normal standards. The defense was a little bit lackadaisical. Guys weren't closing out solidly. The performance of Donovan Mitchell wasn't up to par. Darius Garland was hitting some shots, but he started taking some uncharacteristic, like 35, 40-foot shots. It just looked like he was gunning for half of that game. A little weird, but I mean, at least he scored, right? But you could just see the flow was out of sorts. They were getting absolutely mauled out there in the perimeter. Very active hands by OKC. So, and it was a tale of two tapes between the execution in the first game over the winter from Cleveland and OKC to today's game. So I know that we like to do a lot of predictions in this sort of field and try to hope that we get it right because we believe that we're seeing finals previews. We did the same thing just to kind of parallel with Detroit and Kansas City. And if any of you were tuning into that football game last night, We saw how quickly those aspirations can evaporate. We've seen number one seed teams lose early on in the playoffs. Milwaukee, Dallas. It happens. So is it too early? It's always too early until it's time. But I believe OKC definitely deserves a nod and deserves not to be slept on and should be highly favored come March or April. Highly favored. All right, I'm done singing my praises about OKC. Also got to talk about, I said we got to talk about Houston, a team that we, in our prediction analysis, got very wrong. When I say very wrong, I mean they're approaching the win rate. I believe they're approaching the win amount that we had predicted that they were going to get for the season. I'll say that again. The amount of wins that they have right now at 28 and let's check this right now, 28 and 13. They're approaching the amount of wins that I believe that this team was going to get for the season, y'all. That's all right. Houston, we had predicted to be way down there at 31 and 51. Way off, y'all. Way off. So if there was a preseason bet to say that Houston was going to be a 50-win team and we had put the under, that would have been money just lit up and gone. Because right now, this team is a 50-win team. They're playing at a pace that is absolutely phenomenal. They're rebounding at the highest clip in the league. They're defending absolutely bananas. They're the fourth best team defensively in the league. The points per opponent per game is at 107.9. They don't score an immense amount of ton to be able to survive a team like Boston or Milwaukee, but they do score enough to make you go, hey, we definitely got to play some defense. We can't just depend on outgunning these guys all game. About 113 points a game. Strung together some L's, but, the team sometimes has uncharacteristic play. Beat the tar to Portland last night. Cat needed overtime to beat Sacramento. So, again, uncharacteristic, but also beat Denver, beat Memphis twice. Let the Lakers come into town, say what's up on January 5th, Inauguration Day, and said, hey, this is our house, Lakers. Had a little 5-game winning streak going on there. Now, they lost against Boston. Boston put on a clinic on them the day before that. But they beat Dallas. Their meat grinder was as follows. Let's go back to December 26. Okay, so they play New Orleans, who at the time was just looking like, okay, we're shipping Zion. We're trying to figure out what to do with Brandon Ingram. We're gonna try and run it back. We're gonna look at this DeJounte Murray thing again, and that's it. We're done. So Houston beats New Orleans, goes back, loses a very close game at home against Minnesota. Loses again against a Miami team that is in the trade rumor at that time. Like that's where it started to peak as far as the Jimmy Butler thing is concerned. So they lost that game, go back to the drawing board. They beat Dallas. Okay, cool. We're back in our winning ways. We're figuring it out. Then go and meet of course, last year's champions, Boston. Just get outgunned, outmanned, and defended very well against. Lose that double-digit loss. Uncharacteristic. Udoka goes back to the drawing board, shifts some things around, gets some guys healthy and back, and of course they start stringing some runs. LA, play Washington, whatever. Beat Memphis, beat Memphis. Now, beating a team back to back of very close games says a lot because that was a home and home series. So they went to Memphis on the 9th, and then they came home against Memphis on the 13th a few days later. Didn't have a game in between then, so they had time to watch tape, figure it out. Championship aspirations, I think that they put them together because they also went into Denver and beat the tar out of Denver. In a very uncharacteristic game, Denver won that game. Then had a very close loss in overtime, lost Sacramento. Needed an overtime in order to try to get there, and then lost. Again, Domantas Sabonis, De'Aaron Fox, they come alive at certain times, and it doesn't always go in your favor. And then they win again against Portland. So they're back to the winning ways. They play Detroit on tomorrow, which is going to be a harder game. They're still in the grind because they got Detroit, then Cleveland twice. Okay, then they play at Boston, play at Atlanta, then play at Memphis. If they get 3 out of 6 of these wins, that would be, I personally believe that would be a win for them because again, you're talking about seating wise, Detroit's coming alive right now. Let's just not BS that. Okay, they're doing very well. The likes of Cade Cunningham and Duran are doing very well. We're hoping that they get Ivy back soon. But they're doing really well right now. They're 8th seed. In the last 10, they've won 7 out of their last 10 games. So these guys are doing very well. They're climbing the rankings right now. These boys are not to be messed with. So definitely have to take that into account right now. Then they play Cleveland at home. So these are 2 home games versus Detroit, then versus Cleveland. But then they go to Cleveland on the 25th, which is right after that. And playing a team, the number 1 team in the league in a back-to-back series, that team's going to adjust. They're going to figure it out, especially after losing the games that they did before against OKC in the way and the manner that they did. I'm talking about Cleveland, of course. So it's going to be hard for adjustments. But if Houston can make the adjustments and continue what Hot Take City had predicted in one of our shows a while back, said the downfall of Cleveland was going to happen around this time. If Houston can be part of that right now, it's that particular time of year. Because, again, this is the meat grinder. It doesn't stop until All-Star break. Show that they can prove themselves and they can hang with the likes of OKC as well. I think that you can also put Houston up there in at least conference semis, at least. Okay? But we said it's about a Houston team before, and then Golden State happened. So that's for another time. And then they play Boston. They go from Cleveland straight to Boston, out of the frying pan into the fire. The number 1 seed to the number 2 seed. Then they got to go play Atlanta, y'all. And Atlanta themselves, they're no joke either. They're the 6th seed in the East, and they're starting to get healthy as well. They're putting together some wins too. And then they got to go play Memphis on the 30th. So, again, play-in team with Detroit, playoff team, playoff team, playoff team, playoff team, playoff team. Houston has got the work cut out for them right now until the All-Star break. And it's not like, again, the prediction was wrong about Houston, but it's also not like the NBA predicted that Houston would be this good, that Cleveland would be this bananas, and that the teams that they would be facing during this time of year would be absolutely this on fire. Because Cleveland came out to a 4 seed last year and had some trouble against a young and budding Orlando Magic team. Who could have thought that around mid to late January, that they'd be playing a team that's absolutely bananas, bonkers hot, one of the best defensive teams in the league this year? I don't think they could have put that together. So you guys make sure that you tune in to those Houston and Cleveland games and Houston-Boston games. Watch what Houston is doing, because how they play is going to affect the rest of the league. How they finish is going to affect the ability of the rest of the teams in the West to try to catch up, and it's going to affect playoffs. We all had Denver. We all had Dallas. We all had Minnesota, and we had OKC. We did not put Houston in there. We might have put Phoenix in there. Some of us were praying the Lakers would do that. We said some stuff about the Clippers. We said maybe they will, maybe they won't. We didn't know about the health of Kawhi Leonard. They're coming on. This is the get right here. This is whether we really got it right at the beginning of the season or not. Houston coming through. Yo, what up, TSA? Yo, 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 yo. Let's hope the Rockets lose. What is that? Must be JC. Someone logged in and talking right now. So if you guys are just tuning in, again, this is the TSA Hoop Show. If you guys have some questions today, we're doing a lot of Q&A. You throw your questions up in the chat. Helping you guys out with your fantasy stuff, helping you out with your lineups, with your bets and stuff like that. We also got to talk about Boston. Something odd is happening with this team. And I can't quite put my finger on it. It's almost as if the only team that can really, the only way that Boston really loses is if they don't show up. That's a really, really easy thing to say. But if you watch when they win and you watch when they lose, you see two different teams. I've seen two games this entire season where Boston lost and they played the game that they played. The other team just played a better game. But collectively, here are the three biggest things that concern me about Boston. Their execution from the three-point line is so on purpose that they shoot themselves in the foot at some games. Oh, it's Iggy. Oh, you say you were listening in, bud. If it's so everyone knows that the Boston Celtics, they should know by now. You guys should know it by now that the Boston Celtics are shooting 3-point shots at a very, very high clip. In fact, let's run the number right now. They're averaging almost 18 3-pointers a game. They're attempting 49 3-pointers a game. 49. Okay? Where is that in the league? I'll tell you right now, hold on, because this is absolutely okay. 3-pointers made. Okay, 3-pointers attempted. They're leading the league right now in 3-pointers attempted at 52 3-pointers attempted. They are third in the league at 3-pointers made. These guys shoot a stupid amount of threes, and it's almost like some games where the plan isn't like they'll go and they'll do what I like to call an inside out. So start half court offense, dribble penetration off one wing, penetrate, dribble off, handoff inside, draw defense inside, swing to the opposite wing, to the corner, swings to the wing, 3-point shot attempt. Now say that attempt is bad. Great offensive rebounding team, okay, in the Boston Celtics. They are second overall, tied for second overall as far as offensive rebounds. They really fight for rebounds. So they get the second chance to shoot. Second chance comes around, grabs a rebound. Instead of going back up and inside, swing that back out to a Derek White, which swings over to Peyton Pritchard, and Peyton Pritchard attempts another three. So sometimes that ball goes in, sometimes it doesn't. But this team, at that rate that they shoot, sometimes they shoot themselves in the foot, and that's one of the three things that I get weary about for the Boston Celtics, because when they're on, they're on. But when they're off, it's almost like they stay off. They just get very, very stagnant. That's it. They're stubborn and stagnant. Second thing that the Boston Celtics tend to do is they fall asleep. It's almost they look at the team and they let the team walk them to sleep, let a team get out to a crazy lead, and hit the panic button. It's almost like they wake up and they forget that they were at the game. I've seen championship teams do this. It happens to everybody. But they do it at such a rate where they lose against specific teams that make you question, is this the team that we thought was going to be back-to-back champions? They said, "Oh, this is a cakewalk. They're coming back. They're coming back better. They're coming back healthier." They lost against Atlanta again last night, y'all. At home. They lost against Atlanta again. They can't. I don't know what it is about Atlanta, but Atlanta's got their number. They beat New Orleans. Beat Orlando, sorry, New Orleans. But lost against Toronto, 110-97. I don't know what's going on. They barely beat New Orleans. Lost against Sacramento. They beat Denver in Denver, which was nice. But again, they lost against OKC. Beat the tar out of Houston. And barely beat Minnesota. They're going through their meat grinder right now, and they're losing against, like, Indiana is coming alive. They torched the crap out of Indiana, and then they went and had Indiana again, 27th and 29th. Again, one of those weird in Boston, same team, couple days apart, type of weird things with the schedule. 30-point win at home against Indiana. 9-point loss at home against Indiana. You get one team and then you get the other, and it makes no sense on if you can, for sure. It's going to be, if you put money on Boston to win at the beginning of the season, you're probably not plus money right now. If you put money on them right now because of how well Cleveland and OKC are doing, you might have some fun with this bet now, because now the odds are completely changed. No one can really put their finger on which games that they should bet on. I would have bet that they would beat Sacramento at home. That was January 10th. They have gone, since the 3rd, they have played 500 ball. They have just as many wins as they do losses. Win Houston, lost OKC. Win Denver, lost Sacramento. Win New Orleans, lost Toronto. Win Orlando, lost Atlanta. I don't know who this team is. I don't know if I could bet on them right now. I know that if I were having some fun with some money, betting Boston, wake up, tongue, would be fun. I don't think it would be smart right now. Smart money is on Cleveland right now. That's where the money is at right now. It's Cleveland and OKC. But that's your one. That's your 2 versus your 1. And the 2 and the 1 on the other side. The 2 and the 1 in the West look a lot better than the 2 and the 1 out East. Cleveland looking a little suspect right now. But we'll see how this team comes back together. Let's talk a little news. Unrivaled, of course, jumping off. That's the action that's happened over the last couple of weeks for the 1 and 2 seeds for the NBA. I don't care what y'all say. Ratings are up, and we ready to go. Okay? And if you guys have any betting questions, what we're going to do is we're just going to hang out a little bit. I'm just going to throw some stuff out there. You guys let me know what you're talking about, and we'll address it. Sports Affiliation is actually going through some fantasy leagues right now. So if you guys ever want questions about that, or if you ever want to tap in, make sure to give us a follow at the Sports Affiliation, the Sports Affiliate on X. You can go to thesportsaffiliation.com. We got some stuff going up there. some of our writers may drop in some betting advice, and our illustrious Coach Craig has his YouTube channel up as far as daily fantasy sports for hoops. He does that about 5 days a week. Then likes to take a rest because it's written that he should do so. And one of the sports affiliation leagues, what we have going on Sleeper right now, we're just gonna go. I'm going to go ahead and give you what who's who in the league right now, because it's definitely not me. Your boys plays 5th right now, barely getting wins right now. There are 4 of us tied for 4 of us tied right now, and I'm about to lose this week against Deontay Adams. If you guys know who Deontay is or don't know who he is our native Boston fan. Has been with TSA for some generations now. He is my senior in the league, of course. And he's got the perfect week up against me because Nikola Jokic decided not to play for a couple of games, and I'm seeing I'm not reaping the benefits thanks to that. But yeah, in our league right now, we have our team prestige crawler who's doing alive and is very well at 11-1. Our lovely Ignacio Iggy, who does your IDP for football. So make sure you follow him on X at IDP Iggy is 9-3. Deontay is 10-3 at Deontay Adams. Coach Craig is also at 9-3. I'm sitting behind him at 9-3. And then it goes to 6 with our boy Rico, who's 7-5. Got some teams here, a bunch of teams here at 7-5. Got some sleeper teams. If you guys want to pick up a team in the middle of the season, message me. Let me know. We got some teams that are built by AI and put together, and they did pretty well in the draft because we did a 16-team draft. We made it so that way it's super deep and super hard to get well ahead, but pretty deep league, pretty even league. So if you guys want to pick up a couple of teams, let us know. A couple of teams in 7-5, and then our boy SoCal, who's out there dreaming of a better Lakers team, is at 5-7. We got a team at John Quill Jones at 4-8, and then some teams that just aren't doing well right now. But highly active league right there on Sleeper. We also have a team on our Flea Flicker app with TSA right now, and I'm also playing SoCal this week. We have a team in there, Cooper's dad's team, who absolutely torched us last year as far as scoring. And allegedly, this is being run by someone that's around 12 or 13. So Cooper's dad team, or Cooper, if you're listening to this or you're watching this later, we need to get your kid on one of these shows to explain how it is that the rest of us are scoring about here. Okay, this is about 1,300 points for the week. If you guys don't understand how Flea Flicker works, they take the accumulation of all of your points for your players for all the week. It's best ball. It's great. So do all your points for the week, and then you got your points versus the person ahead of you. So all of us are scoring pretty decent for the week. 1,200 points, right? 1,300 is the next step. That means you're active, you're doing some stuff. This guy's team is averaging like 14, almost 1,500 points a week, and this is versus some elite involved players. So you got to teach us your ways. We got to get the kid on the show, man, because it'd be great for some fantasy advice out there. Still no questions out there just yet, but that's that league just started about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. We are in week 3 now. Yep, week 3 right now. So a few 2-0 teams, a bunch of 1-1 teams, and then there were a couple of teams that were on a bye. So that's just how it worked out. But I'll tell you guys the roster, the makeup, which is good because right now we're doing our stardom sit 'em. So I got Stephon Castle, of course. If you guys know, it's the rookie guard out of almost a Yukon. Yeah, Yukon. Where's this San Diego State? This guy's San Diego State. San Diego State. Kawhi Leonard. Nope, neither. Stephon Castle. High school. High school. Noon high. Okay, never mind. Anyway, this kid comes out and he's kind of iffy the first few weeks of the season. He has since played his way well into either the 6-man role or starting for the San Antonio Spurs and has come alive since, and he's been doing pretty well for this best ball. His 3-point shots definitely come alive there. He's been involved in some scoring early on in the game, so shout out to Stephon Castle for working it out. Been listening to some games in Washington, and this name kept coming up, and I had no idea why. But Carlton Carrington of the Washington Wizards. There are guys that just show up and get a paycheck. There are guys that come out to play and don't get paid. And this guy shows up. He's not well paid, but he is doing very well for his first, like, being new in the season. He's come alive for the Washington Wizards as a scorer. He's doing great in this position. I believe that if you guys are looking at anyone as far as, like, if you're trying to dive and you got deep into leagues, you don't have, and no one's picking up players in Washington because everyone believes Washington sucks. I think that that's one of the guys that you should look for as a guard on Washington. You should watch some of his tape. He's actually pretty good. Of course, it got Kevin Durant, and yay me. I don't know why I sound so salty about that. It's just Phoenix right now is. We all said that they were one injury away from being a play in team, or not even a play in contender. These guys, I mean, Kevin Durant himself is balling out, right? But, like, the Phoenix Suns are at 21-20. They're tied with the Golden State Warriors. They're 11th seed right now. San Antonio's right on their tails, 2 games back, a game and a half back. I don't get this team. This team added Trey Jones, so they got the traditional point guard. It's supposed to be a positive for them, and they're not a net positive right now. They're a net negative team. They won 2 games, good for them, but they're not doing well in the conference. They're almost 500 in the division. They're a bad road team, and they're getting injured with their players at the wrong time. So anyway, I got Kevin Durant on the squad, so at least that's going for me. Sorry, just setting the lineup right now. So got Carl Anthony Towns, and that completely screwed me for about a week and a half because he had an injured finger on his shooting hand. I think that's what the report was. Coming up against the Hawks, his thumb is what has kept him out, and that always, when you have guys that are your lotto picks, your first, your second, your third round picks, and they're your meat and potatoes. Like, I had Jokic in my other league, and he's my meat and potatoes because he's one of the highest fantasy scoring players. like ever. It's almost a cheat code to have Nikola Jokic on your team right now. Having guys like that sit for one reason or another and not play definitely hurts your chances of making it to the big league. So making sure that you understand depth and guys that can sit around him. So I backed him up with a bunch of other centers because I said, the time that he's out, I'm gonna need some guys that are gonna grind it out. I thought so. I picked up Isaiah Hartenstein because that's like at the time because Hartenstein was out for a little bit. And then came into the league and had that 7-week stretch of where he was absolutely insane and amazing. Uh, should have been one of those guys that you would think had moved up his draft capital as far as fantasy is concerned. And then he goes out. So I've been out without Hartenstein, been out without Karl Anthony Towns. I tried to back him up with Yusuf Nurkic, who's also been out. But the center position right now is not looking nice. Who I'm fielding right now at the center position, I mentioned Jalen Duren, who's been out for a little bit. I have Dylan Gafford of the Dallas Mavericks. And my diamond in the rough, okay? Santi Aldama. Guys, listen. Memphis has some very interesting players on their team, and they're always fun to watch. They're almost like an older version of OKC. An older, more like if you saw Unk from the hood, not saying that they're the hood, but like if you saw Unk on the street corner just coming out the corner store, that's who Memphis reminds me of. It's like the season before and then the current season. Current season, OKC. The season before was Memphis. And Santi Aldama is one of those guys who came into the league and his style of play, of course, is very European, but he grinds it out. He's a great rebounder, and he's a decent 3-point shooter. He comes in, he surprises us. He stretches the floor very well, and his having him as a fantasy player is sort of a decent safety net. So if you guys are having to buy low or spend only a small amount of cash and you need some help on daily fantasy, I'm pretty sure that Coach Craig would agree when he goes back and sees this. Santi Aldama is a pretty decent pickup. The team that's also fielding Zach Edey and Jake LaRavia, big boys themselves. Santi Aldama's ability to come in almost sort of a veteran role and put together and help. He's a plus in scoring when he comes on, plus in the scoring and rebounding when he's on the court. I think it's a player that you definitely got to have in your lineup. I got him in mind, and he's been helping me win some weeks. Okay, in lots of leagues. When he's available, it's on. It's great. So Santi Aldama definitely one. In fact, if we were ranking some backup centers or guys at the center position right now, Santi Aldama would be probably top 30 right now. He's beating out some starters right now as far as availability because he's always available. He's available more nights than not. His presence in the Memphis rotation is a positive, more than you could say for other centers in the league. So Santi Aldama, y'all. Got some other guys on the squad. Desmond Bane, of course, who comes again, on again, off again. He's starting for Memphis, and he's part of the reason why Memphis has been doing so well because of him and his 3-point shooting and his Vin Diesel-like arms. They're able to – I mean, if there are guys that look like a linebacker or a running back in the league that look like they do too many of the too much benching, Desmond Bane looks like he benches too much and he plays the wrong sport. But he plays the right sport, y'all. He's got a smooth shot. One of those guys where you see them come into the gym and you're like, oh, man, this guy can't shoot, probably can't do layups, probably tackles like a footballer, doesn't really defend well, and he does all those things very well. Very flexible, very, very light on his feet, quick and accurate. The body and the play don't make sense, but they make sense for him. whatever. And then another player that I've just had sitting in my injury injury reserve for the time being, Cam Thomas. That hamstring injury is just absolutely killing me, and I'm hoping that he gets better because he was doing well as far as scoring volume and his ability to come alive. He's on All-Star aspirations. He was definitely one of my votes early on in the season for All-Star, most improved player. He was in there. He was probably like one of my top 10 players. Did very well for Brooklyn before he went out. Brooklyn looked like they were going to start to be a play-in or maybe a playoff contender before he went out on that injury. So, shout out to Cam Thomas. Hopefully he comes back stronger than ever. Now I'm looking at his profile picture. Deontay, if you're watching this, I'm gonna do a side-by-side comparison of you and Cam Thomas. I would think that maybe you guys are one and the same person. Maybe a little bit. But then again, someone the other day, I went out shopping, talk about lookalikes, and someone said that I look like, who was it? I gotta think of his name. I'll come back to it in a second. Okay, still no questions up on here or checking over on X. Seeing any questions up there. Questions in either spot. All right. Yep. So we're absolutely already all set for the day. NBA lineup for today. Let's see. Schedule for today. Today is Sunday. San Antonio and Miami popping off. I'm picking San Antonio in that one. Victor Wembanyama has been absolutely on a tear. Let's see if there's any injuries for that game. Yeah, because Heat just came off a loss. Spurs just came off of a big loss. Yeah, it doesn't look like anyone is not available, so that'll be a good game to watch. Denver Nuggets go into Orlando today as well, later on this afternoon, 3 Pacific Standard Time, so 6 for you guys on the East Coast. I think I'm going to go with Denver for that game. Orlando's on a little bit of a losing streak. Their scoring has been up to par, and they don't do well. They play slow. Denver has been playing fast because of Russell Westbrook. We're not going to go away from that narrative. I'll take Denver on that game. Philly versus Milwaukee. Stop me if you've heard this before. We've seen this game before. Early on in the season, one of the first few games, Milwaukee versus Philadelphia, and the only ones that were available was Giannis. So again, this is definitely a much more. It's going to be a better game. That because we have more players available for this game. It's going to be played in Milwaukee. Right now, the series is 3-0 Milwaukee. Nope. I'll take that back. It is 1-0. Milwaukee won the first matchup. So I take that back. Milwaukee's fine. They're healthy, but Joel Embiid is out. Paul George missed yesterday's game with a groin injury, so he may be out again. Oh, Yabusele and Caleb Martin. Yabusele, who, if you guys don't remember, is the guy that dunked on LeBron. We're just gonna keep calling him that in the Olympics. Um, got picked up towards sort of like the middle of the first month of the season and has been absolutely phenomenal for the 76ers. Great defensive talent, comes in and does provide a little bit of scoring in the post for the 76ers, but has been a great talent. It's almost like this guy's carrying NBA Africa right now with him. And it's great to see because you don't always get much out of the Olympics except maybe one, maybe two guys who you think, oh, this guy could come alive. Memphis has a guy over their on their bench deep in the rotation, the point guard from Japan, who everyone is in love with over there. So when he comes on, it's great. Of course, you got all the old heads from the NBA that are playing on teams that played for their national team. That's neither here nor there. But then they got this guy, Yabusele, who of course, made a name for himself, but was part of the team from Congo that was putting the brakes on Team USA. Okay, was absolutely physical with this team. Showed up a little bit against France. I mean, they did the thing. Okay, to say, oh no, we got some big dudes out here. We got some talent out here. Okay, and it's great to see that he's doing well. But as far as availability, I mean, they're coming off of a back-to-back, the 76ers. Milwaukee's a little bit fresh, so we'll see who is available. They'll probably update the depth chart with that later, but I'm taking Milwaukee in that one. What other games are today? Oh, you guys decided to make it look nice. Brooklyn's visiting the Thunder today. Shea rested against the game against Dallas, so he should be available today in this one. Who else do we have? We have the Wizards visiting the Kings. The Kings just coming off of another close win. Wizards visiting. Wizards almost beating the Warriors yesterday. The Wizards almost beat the Warriors yesterday. So they're on this West Coast trip. We'll see if they can come and put together an equal showing and possibly get a win against the Kings, who's again got a double machine over there in Domantas Sabonis. That's never been a question, but it's just who shows up for that game. Chicago and Portland. Portland at home just suffered a loss again. We're not sure how the development of that team is going right now. They seem to be going in the right direction as far as performing is concerned, just can't put together wins. And the Bulls, who started out strong at the beginning of the season, we had a ton of questions with that trade with Alex Caruso and Josh Giddey and how that team will perform. They started out hot, got cold since, played some key teams, had some big losses. We'll see how that team performs. I think the Bulls are going to win that game. They perform more consistently at a higher clip than the Blazers do, but I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. Low 100s, high 90s for that game, and then of course to round out our night, it's a home game. If you want, they can't really call it that anymore. It's going to be at Fiserv Arena. Lakers going into Fiserv versus the Clippers. That game is the 5 versus the 6. Lakers win this game. They're a half game over the Clippers. Clippers win this game. They're a full game and a half ahead of the Lakers. Clippers right now at the 5 seeded 23-17. Clippers at the 6 seeded 22-17. And Lakers just won a very close game thanks to the play of Austin Reeves, who's another guy who you should pick up in your fantasy if you haven't picked him up already, because it seems that when Austin scores at least 25 points, the Lakers are shooing for a win. And Austin Reeves also had a triple-double in a win some nights ago. So as far as improving talent, he's definitely starting to make a name for himself. He won't get 6-man, but most improved player. They're definitely in the running for that. That about rounds us out today, y'all. You didn't have any questions today. Didn't have any much to say, but that's okay. Again, I understand you guys are probably still reeling in the effects of your favorite teams losing. It's still NFL playoff season, but hoops is going on right now. Don't forget to tap in, and we'll post up stuff about Unrivaled if you're tapped in. If you're following women's basketball, we'll put stuff up about NBA. If you want to talk about what the season's going on right now, your favorite teams, you have lineup questions, you have anything, put them in the comments below. Link it to us, send it to us, DM us, whatever you got to do, get it to us so we can get you the information. Love, peace, and chicken grease. You guys have a good day. I know I will do the same. Stay warm out there and bundle up. Take your vitamin C. Drink your vitamin C, y'all. Drink your vitamin C and coffee. We out, y'all.